The title of my message today is To Whom Honor is Due. And I don't know if that's proper English. I'm sorry, teachers. I know you guys, I'm sorry. But have you ever, any of you, I know those of you that go to Living Word, because that's where I hear it, they say, give honor to whom honor is due. It's a Bible verse, and it's usually like when there's a guest minister, they want to make sure that you like clap for them and cheer when they come on stage. Basically, that's my frame of reference for honor, or that phrase, to whom honor is due. And so that's what I'm going to talk about. To whom honor is due. Who is honor actually due? Who should we honor? And to do that, I'm going to start from a book called The Third Option, written by Pastor Miles McPherson. He was actually my pastor when I lived out in San Diego. He played for the Chargers for a few years, and then when he was done in the NFL, he started a church. But he wrote this book called The Third Option. And in the book, its subtitle is Hope for a Racially Divided Nation. And so in this, I'm not going to talk about race today, but in this book, I love what he's talking about. He's specifically talking about racism and the division that exists in our country. And the crazy thing is, he wrote this in 2018, and if you've been paying attention, it's gotten a whole lot worse since 2018, right? Which I think is just a testament to him hearing the voice of God, because he wrote this book 2 years before 2020 and then sold out multiple times during 2020. All these churches were trying to get him to come speak at his church because he heard God say, we need this book before. If he had waited till after 2020 to write it, it might have been too late, right? So I just love that. But in the book, the third option is talking about this us versus them mentality. And it's specifically talking about racism, but also in politics, you see that, right? There's a religion, there's a lot of us versus them in the world right now. How many of you guys can agree with that, right? Even at your age, it's not funny. It's actually really sad. But I was thinking back to when I was in school, which I graduated from Maranatha as well, a long time ago, actually before any of you students were alive. I actually probably went to school with some of your parents. So if your parents went to Maranatha, then I'm going to give you some homework. Go home and ask them if they know who Josh Coan is. They probably don't. I wasn't like super popular, but it's a small enough school, and it was even smaller when I was there. So they at least recognized my name. Plus I had siblings, so they might know the name Coan. So you can ask them. But when I was there, I didn't think about politics at all because I couldn't vote. So it's like, I don't care what anything is. But I feel like now politics have creeped into every part of society, including school, to school-age kids who can't even vote. And that division is disgusting, honestly. It's sad that there's that kind of division. But the world wants us to choose an us versus them. They want us to choose a side. And so in his book, he gives us a third option. And I want to read a quote from his book. Sorry, let me pull this up real quick. In his book, he's talking about, so the third option comes from the book of Joshua. And if you guys are familiar with the story of Joshua and the Battle of Jericho, when he's getting ready to fight this battle, he encounters an angel. So let me just read what he says here. It says, now when Joshua was near Jericho, this is Joshua 5, 13 through 14. When Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, are you for us or for our enemies? And the man replied, neither. But as the commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come. Then Joshua fell face down on the ground in reverence and asked him, what message does my Lord have for his servant? And I love that because, those of you going to a Christian school, growing up in the church, the children of Israel, they're on God's side, right? You read the Old Testament, you're like, yeah, those are God's chosen people. And what this angel told him is, I'm not necessarily for any man side or the other. I'm on God's side. And this whole book, The Third Option, is written from that perspective of it doesn't have to choose an us versus them. You don't have to be on one side or the other. You can be on the Lord's side, which might look different in different situations. But I would say that's what we all need to do, right? Is be on the Lord's side in all these situations and not choosing necessarily an us versus them. So I love this perspective. I'm not talking a whole lot about that. The book today, I'm not talking about racism. I'm not talking about that. Although if you want to talk to me about that, I love having those difficult conversations because I think it's important. I think we don't have enough of those conversations, and I think that's why things just get worse, because then we all just make up assumptions for what we think is the right or wrong thing to do, and it just becomes worse. So if you want to have those conversations with me, let's have those conversations, but that's not what I'm talking about today. But I love in the book because what the third option is, and I'm going to read another section of this book here. It says, culture plays a big role in perpetuating racism by wrongly insisting that there is only two options that you can choose from, us or them. Culture pits one group of people against another by promoting a zero-sum game mentality that says you must lose in order for me to win. God, however, offers a third option that stands in stark contrast to the two offended by culture. God's third option invites us to honor that which we have in common, the presence of his image in everyone we meet. When we honor the presence of his image in others, we acknowledge their priceless value as precious and beloved of God. The third option empowers us to see people through God's eyes, which enables us to treat them in a manner that honors the potential of his image in all of us. And I love that because he's specifically talking about racism, right? And how every single person you see is created in the image of God. So therefore, no matter what their culture background is, no matter what the color of their skin is, they are created in the image of God, and therefore they have value, and therefore they should be honored. So I'm not going to talk about racism, but I do want to talk about honor today. Sorry, it's always awkward. I got to take a drink, but I'm going to talk about honor today. And also, if you guys want a copy of this book, or you like this book, you can find it on Amazon as well, but come talk to me. This is such a powerful book, and I love it. But when he's talking about honor and honoring every single person, so if we talk about honor today, I want to define I'd like to define our terms so we're all on the same page. You guys probably have an idea of what honor means to you. You've probably heard messages on honor before. You probably have an idea, right, of what honor already means, right? This honor roll at school. So you guys kind of have an idea, but when I looked it up and I found a definition I liked, it was high respect, esteem. So when I say the word honor today, I want you guys to think high respect and esteem, okay? Just so we're all on the same page. Whatever you think honor might mean or whatever definition you've been working with, that's fine. But for this conversation, I want you to think high respect and esteem. So who are some people in your life that you have high respect or esteem for, and how would you treat them? How would you respond if they were in the room right now? For me, the first person that probably comes to my head is my boss. So when your boss comes in the room, how do you act? How do you respond, right? When you're working at Target and your boss walks past you, you got to act like you're working, right? You got to stop talking and act like you're working. I shouldn't give this okay, for the record, you guys should all work very hard, and when you have a boss, earn your paycheck. But a free tip, when I was in high school, I worked at Dairy Queen, and I always kept a rag in my hand whenever I was talking to my friends, because if my boss walked past, then I just start wiping down the counter, right? So free tip for those of you, you should respect authority, you should obey your boss, but you act differently when your boss is in the room, right? Those of you that have jobs, or whoever it is that you respect, that you honor. Celebrity culture is kind of a weird thing we have in America, right? But another person that comes to mind when I think about someone that I have high respect or esteem is LeBron James, right? And even though I'm not the biggest LeBron James fan, I'm old enough to be a Jordan fan, and I think LeBron's probably the second or third best player in the history of the NBA, which is not disrespectful. If you think about this, when was basketball invented? How long have people played basketball? How many millions of people have tried dribbling a basketball? How many people in the room right now have tried dribbling a basketball? I'm not saying you play basketball, but you tried at some point in your life. Okay? In America, just in America and overseas, millions of people, probably billions, have dribbled a basketball in their life. And LeBron is the third best to ever do it. That's pretty impressive. That's not disrespectful. That's not disrespectful. The third best to ever do it?
Who's two?
Kobe would be 2, Jordan would be 1. You're entitled to your own opinion. But even somebody who thinks that way and has been ridiculed for being a LeBron James hater, if LeBron James walked in this room right now, I would talk very differently about him. I would treat him very differently. I would have a lot of respect for LeBron James because I respect what he does. What he does on the basketball court is absolutely incredible. I can't come anywhere close to that. And I respect LeBron James, and I highly respect him and I esteem him. So if LeBron James came in the room, if it was LeBron up here with a microphone instead of me, a lot of you, especially sports, even if you're not a sports fan, you probably know the name LeBron James. Even if you didn't, the guy walks in the room, he's a physical specimen. Like you would be like, oh, that guy at least scares me. Like I'm at least afraid of him, so I'm gonna listen to what he has to say. For you, it might not be, if you're not a sports fan, a basketball fan, it might not be LeBron James. It might be an author, a singer, a politician maybe. There's somebody that you hold in high esteem. And how would you treat them if they were in the room right now? How about your parents? How about your pastor? How about your teachers, mentors? Do you respect them and esteem them? Do you value the gift that they are? And I think for a lot of us, at least the answer would be yes, like we would say yes. And even some the teachers maybe that we like the most or get along with the best, a lot of times we stop respecting them, esteeming them, valuing them, honoring them, because we just get so comfortable with them, right? Like part of the reason why LeBron James would have my respect, attention, if he walked in the room right now, is because I've never met the guy before. And I have this like kind of awe of him because I've seen him on the basketball court. But to his close friends and family, to his kids, to Bronny Jr., he's not LeBron James, he's dad. All right? He doesn't treat him any differently than you probably would your parents, right? He treats him just as dad. And although there is beauty in that, and there is definitely beauty in the fact that the creator of the universe, that we have that relationship with the creator of the universe, that we can call him dad, and we can just go to him at any time. There's beauty in that. But there's also sometimes you lose some of that respect when you get in that close proximity, when you get too comfortable, right? It's good to be comfortable, but sometimes you get too comfortable. And so, specifically when I'm talking about, your pastors, your teachers, your mentors, it's great to be comfortable, but sometimes you can get too comfortable, right? Hold on real quick. Jeremiah, is this water bottle in the shot? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to take a sip and then I'm going to move it because I got to get a good picture. And this is Jeremiah, by the way. He works for me. He's my employee. Is it out of the shot now? I like to say that because I like to. He's the one that actually knows what he's doing he does our social media channels. And he said, you can tell them that you want a good picture, you can explain that to them because they'll all get it. And I said, can I say for the gram? Because I'm the age where I said that. And he's like, no, don't say that. He's like, don't say for the gram. They don't say that anymore. So, even though I just did. But I am older. There is an age gap here. I said, I want to get a good picture for the gram. And he was like, no. So, but I am going to get a good picture. Jeremiah, did you get one? Did I smile? Act like I'm still talking, guys. Okay. You got the shoes, right? Okay. I'm not that vain, but my shoes are the only thing in my wardrobe that I actually pay much attention to. So when he takes a picture of me, if it's only the top, I'm like, it's just a black shirt. Like, I don't care. But my shoes, I actually took time picking out this morning. All right. I got real off track with that. I don't know why I got so distracted. But so talking about value, right, and getting too comfortable with things, this laptop here may not be very impressive to some of you guys, especially if you knew the specs. It's not that impressive, and it's small. But when I was doing freelance video and I had to get a new computer, and so I bit the bullet and spent the money on this MacBook Pro. And it wasn't even the best one they had. It was like the cheapest of like, okay, this can do the job that I need to get done. So it's not even that nice, but to me, it was the most expensive thing I've ever bought besides my house and my car. And I'm making payments on both of those. So like, I didn't have to like swipe a card and watch that much money come out of my account at once until I bought this. So when I first bought a case for it, I took such good care of this laptop, and I was just so careful. Even if I went outside onto our porch, I had the case on it, like it was a case that like zips open. So I left it on there to make sure like dust and stuff didn't get on there, because I was so careful with this laptop because I spent so much money on it. There was a time my wife likes to cook, and she had a recipe pulled up on the laptop, and she had it sitting on the kitchen counter, and I was like, oh, that's too close to the water. Like, that's too close to the ingredients. You might spill some flour on it or something. So I was like, and she got kind of annoyed and I had to apologize. But but I was so careful with it when I first got it. There's no case on it now. I actually forgot to put it in a case when I brought it into work today. I don't work that hard. I've had this laptop for 5 years now. Yes, there's actual value loss, right? Because technology advances and 5-year-old laptop just isn't worth as much money, but it's lost value to me. I don't treat it as well as I used to because I got comfortable with it. I got used to it, right? And that's a natural thing that's going to happen with things, but it's important to not let that happen with people, right? Are there people in your life that you've gotten too casual with, that you just don't value them anymore, right? You don't value the gift that you have. And so usually it's more expensive stuff, right, that we have more value for, right? I said I paid a lot of money for this. Shoes that I paid more money for. Like, I treat my shoes better than the rest of my clothes because this stuff I just get at Target. But my shoes, I spend money on, so it's important to me, so I value it. But the question I ask, or that I talked about, to whom honor is due, who is due honor in your life? Yes, the people that I mentioned, your pastors, your teachers, those in authority, yes, you honor them. But what Pastor Miles was saying in his book is that every single person you meet was created in the image of God, and therefore is valuable to him, and therefore should be valuable to you. So every person you meet should be valued, should have high esteem, right? Whether they are someone in authority, whether they are someone famous, whether they are a classmate, a teammate on your team, your basketball team, whoever it is in your life. It might be the kid that you don't want to sit by in the cafeteria, but they were created in the image of God, and they have value as well, and you should treat them as such. And the reason why is because of Genesis 1:27, when he says, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them." We should honor the image of God in every single person you meet, because every single person you meet in school, out of school, at your job, wherever, was created in the image of God and is precious to God. You think about the image of the Creator. You should treat them with that kind of high value and respect. And even if you're listening to me and you're like, I basically just said you should honor people because you should. And some of you might be like, I don't follow rules just to follow them, right? Even if you're going to be kind of, let's be honest, kind of selfish about it, and look at it that way, which is fine. If you need a reason, God often uses people to get things to you, to answer your prayers, not just monetary, right? I believe God can do miracles. If you're in a bad financial situation and you pray for God to give you money, he's probably not going to just manifest it on your table in front of you. It's probably not going to rain down from heaven. He's probably going to have someone give it to you, or more likely offer you a job so you can make that money. But God uses people, even if let's say you're battling depression, you're going through a tough time. God can, I believe, just take it away. But I think more often than not, he's going to send someone in your life, a friend, a teacher, a counselor, somebody that you can talk to, that you can work through that with and end up in a better spot. God uses people. And so if you don't value the people, then you're not going to get that from them, right? Just because you don't value them, you're going to ignore them. Every person in this room, to some extent, was listening when I first came up. Maybe not everybody. Some of you might have tuned out right away. That's fine. But a lot of you have checked out over time, either because, for whatever different reasons, either I'm not entertaining enough, or maybe you don't like my shoes, or maybe as soon as I said that Jordan and Kobe were better than LeBron, you checked out and was like, no, I can't hear anything this guy has to say because he's obviously got flawed opinions. Okay? Some of you, so you've checked out for various reasons. But the truth is, if you believe, which I believe, that God put me here for a reason, that I'm standing in front of you today for a reason, God probably has something for you from me. Not that I'm so special, but I'm who God's using right now. And the truth is, some of you missed it because you weren't listening, because you checked out, because for whatever reason, you didn't think that I had something to add to you. And that's fine. I'm not offended. Jesus had people that didn't think he had anything to offer. Not that I'm trying to compare myself to Jesus, but if people ignore Jesus, people are going to not listen to me as well, right? One of my favorite verses in the Bible, which is, I don't know what that tells about you, but this is my favorite verse, but John 1:46, and it says, "And Nathanael said to him, 'Can anything good come out of Nazareth?'" Someone was trying to tell him about Jesus, and he was like, "That dude from Nazareth? No. Like, he's not from a city where I expect good things to come, so I'm not going to hear. Like, maybe where you were born, people have overlooked you, right? Because of where you're from or because of your family." And then in Mark 6, Jesus talks about going to his own town, his own family, his own friends, and they ignore him. These are people that are looking for the Savior, right? They read the Old Testament. They know that there's a promised Savior. And he walks in the room, and they're like, "That's just Jesus. That's Mary and Joseph's kid. Like, he built my table. Like, he doesn't have anything to offer me." And he says he couldn't do any miracles there except lay hands on a few people. And it says he was amazed at their lack of faith. Jesus, who's been around since before time began, was amazed at something. Think it takes something special to amaze him? He was amazed at their lack of faith because they didn't think that Jesus, who they grew up with, could be the Savior, could have anything to offer them. But I'm here to tell you that God placed everybody in your life for a reason. Parents, teachers, coaches, but even teammates, friends, and the kids you don't want to sit by at school are there in your life for a reason. So you should honor them. You should respect them. Number one, because they're precious to God. But two, they might have something of value to give to you that you might miss if you just ignore them.